You know those times when the demands of the moment overwhelm or they don't line up exactly with the job descriptions on your team? What do people do in those moments? Well, everyone rises to the occasion and embraces new responsibilities when you define the work before you define the people. If you're looking for ways to make your teams more nimble, stay tuned. Hi, I'm Megan Campion, Associate Partner at Education Elements. Welcome back to our new School Rules series. In this video, we're exploring the ways in which roles were redefined as individuals went beyond their usual job descriptions to take on new responsibilities in the face of unprecedented challenges. We'll hear from Lori Barron, Superintendent of the Year in Montana and Superintendent of Evergreen School District, Kelly Spivey, the Executive Director of High Ames, a consortium of 32 public school districts in the Cincinnati, Ohio region, Emily LeBeau, Senior Director, Talent Development and Workforce Strategy for New Schools for Baton Rouge in Louisiana, and Clinton Robinson, Southern Area Superintendent for Wake County in North Carolina. This year's unique new challenges required leaders and their teams to intentionally identify the work to be done, as they could not rely on institutional knowledge and old habits. Lori Barron's district is large for Montana school districts, but her team is lean, and she found that the challenges presented this year required that everyone think creatively about how they could best contribute to the organization's goal to educate students safely.
Instead of this teacher's going to do this or this principal's going to do this, it's been what needs to be done and who's the best person to do it. And so really thinking about our thought process for how things get done in order to let us keep schools open safely. We have 6 administrators in our district, and 5 of us are now official deputized health officers for our county. And, our teachers are having to do more, and they've been wonderful. And we've hired new staff, but our teachers are doing a lot of different roles that they wouldn't have normally done, and we're trying to provide additional time and support for that. So instead of saying we can't provide teachers time, we went in and rebuilt master schedules to put time during the day. We went in and changed our calendar to have an early release every Wednesday so staff have planning time. We've offered staff additional compensated time after school so that they can work on-site and remote, synchronous and asynchronous.
Lori's experience illustrated the range of new tasks that educators and administrators had to tackle. Leaders quickly realized that to function this year, they needed to build from their teams and encourage innovation. In Ohio, Kelly Spivey saw teachers in her district really own their upskilling and get creative with new approaches.
Those that I'm learning from have taught themselves in many ways, or they've taken a little bit of professional development and turned it into more. What I've found is that the high school teachers in some districts are saying, I've gotten to know my 150 learners like I have never known them before. They're grouping, they're using all kinds of, I have to look at my notes here because I've been taking some, but Jamboards, using individual Zoom calls. They're really using that opportunity to individualize learning, using those techniques, I should say, to individualize learning, building relationships. That to me is amazing. And I hope as we move forward, we as school districts can really offer a menu of educational opportunities.
New skills acquired during this time also made a big impact in Baton Rouge. Emily LeBeau has seen a shift in the mindset around teacher development.
What I see within schools, which is really exciting among school leaders, is this recognition that capacity building is paramount. And this is a shift that I've started to see take place over the years, where it's a recognition that talent isn't just a plug and chug. Talent is an investment. And if we're going to invest in it, we have to invest by introducing not just monetary value, but skill sets and mindsets that we want to cultivate in these individuals. And so we're seeing a mindset shift among administration who are starting to focus on the importance of building talent within their buildings, particularly during this time, right? This has emphasized that you can't have an outside expert come into your building, tell you the answer, leave, because we are in a time when things are rapidly changing every day. Are we going to be open? Are we going to be closed? What does this mean for the style of learning that we do? You have to have individuals within your school building who are building the skill sets to navigate that and make decisions.
Lori, Kelly, and Emily all saw people react to the moment and take on responsibilities as a matter of necessity. Clinton Robinson has created a structure for teams that systematizes the opportunities to step outside of a job description and to pursue a passion or acquire a new skill.
You got to make sure that you have somebody on that particular team that is responsible, that has decision-making authority to make a decision. The next thing that you want to do is you want to include someone who has the ability to block that decision, who can negatively impact it. Then after you do that, you want to make sure that you have a practitioner who is, someone who is going to be impacted by the decision. And then you want to include someone who is an expert in the field that is able to provide the expertise and the information in order to make that decision. And then you would have a couple of people involved and you would get together and you will say, hey, is there anyone else that we need to include as we begin to talk about this work, as we construct whatever it is that we're going to do to roll something out in regards to a decision that's going to be made. And because of it is a flat line leadership perspective, that everyone is an equal stakeholder in the decision-making process. And so the unpacking of the information, the questioning about the information is very powerful, because when it's all said and done, you have created ownership and alignment amongst this group of people, which ultimately creates coherence within your district.
Whether by necessity or by established team norms, educators and administrators all over the country gained new skills, proposed new ideas, and saw problems from new perspectives this year. This has led to a shift in mindsets in these school communities, and they've seen increased engagement and ownership at all levels as people started owning initiative. Kelly Spivey sees increasing opportunities for students coming out of this.
How can we take that mindset of really tapping into individual talents, may that be through adults, through our learners, and let's change education. It doesn't have to be in seat time. It doesn't have to be from 8 to 4 or whatever. Some want to learn early in the morning, that's great. If some want to learn later in the day, that's great. If some need an art to tap into, to understand the content, that's fine. I just think that it's not as difficult as what we think it is going to be. And let's just do it. Let's just do it. I just think we're holding them back in our traditional offering of school.
Emily also sees these shifts extending into the cultures in her schools in the future.
How powerful if you've created an environment where people feel safe enough to take a risk to try to create a new system that may or may not work, modify it versus waiting for somebody else to tell them what to do. How great is it to have a team that is building and investing in each other? Can you imagine walking into a staff meeting where the leader in your building, instead of saying, do you have feedback for me, where you feel like you can't do that necessarily because there is a positional power and there might be some repercussion, instead is very responsive and says, okay, what advice do you have for me? Like, give me feedback directly. And if it's modeled from the top down that we get feedback and we make changes, how that would ripple through how the adults act. And then if the expectation came, come with a new idea. It doesn't have to be the greatest thing in the world, but just come with a new idea and let's talk about it. That's so different from let me come sit in the staff meeting, sit, get, walk away.
The Forum for Discussion and Feedback supports this culture of increased ownership. Clinton has found that his team structures have created conditions for these kinds of conversations.
When you get those practitioners engaged in the conversation with the decision makers and those who are able to block the decision, the dialogue becomes rich, it becomes more engaging, and it becomes more intentional and purposeful, right? And so by doing it that way, you remove your blind spots and you're able to address any potential unintentional consequences that may result out of this work. When you create this circle of people to help make these decisions, as you move on to the next decision that has to be made, you alleviate always having the same people addressing problems of practice in order to make decisions. And thereby you increase the capacity of your organization and make your organization put your organization in a situation where the people can really thrive and flourish with the understanding that they understand their significance and value within the organization is not limited to a scope or sequence or a position or a title.
when they defined the work before they defined the people. These district leaders and their teams were better able to match the work to the interests or the needs of the people. That in turn led to increased engagement on their teams, it built capacity, and it promoted a sense of ownership and initiative among the school communities. In our next video in this series, we'll be exploring how responsive leaders tackled making decisions when they aimed for safe enough to try over consensus. Be sure to check out our website and follow us on Twitter for more content. Check out the descriptions for all these links and more. If you enjoyed this content, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.